The night was colder than usual, and a slow wind moved through the empty streets, carrying a strange silence that felt heavy and wrong. The small village slept quietly under a dark sky, far away from the noise of cities, where nothing ever changed and nothing ever happened. Inside a simple house at the edge of the village, Sarah sat near the window, holding a warm cup of tea in her hands. Her eyes looking outside without really seeing anything. She could not explain it. But something felt different tonight, something in the air. Like the world was holding its breath. The trees outside were not moving much, and even the dogs were silent. As if they were afraid of something unseen. Sarah took a slow breath and looked up at the sky. Her eyes narrowing slightly, then suddenly, a bright light appeared far above. Small at first, but growing bigger every second. It was not like a shooting star, it was too slow, too controlled. The light moved across the sky, glowing white and blue, cutting through the darkness like a silent warning. Sarah stood up quickly, her heart beating faster now. "What is that?" she whispered to herself, her voice barely a sound. The light grew brighter, and then suddenly, it dropped fast toward the earth, disappearing behind the trees just outside the village. A deep, soft sound followed, like something heavy touching the ground. Then everything became silent again. Sarah stood still for a moment, unsure of what she had just seen. Her mind told her to stay inside, to ignore it, to pretend nothing happened. But her heart was pulling her toward the forest. After a few seconds, she placed her cup down with shaking hands and slowly walked toward the door. She opened it carefully, and the cold air touched her face immediately. The night felt even stranger outside. She stepped forward, her feet moving slowly across the dirt path, her eyes focused on the dark trees ahead. The forest stood quiet, tall and still. Like it was watching her, Sarah hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath and walked inside. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the ground itself did not want her to go further. Then, she heard it. A soft sound, very weak, like a small cry. Sarah stopped instantly, her body freezing. She listened again. There it was, a child's cry. But it did not sound normal. It was different, softer, almost like it was echoing in a strange way. "Hello," Sarah called out, her voice shaking slightly. No answer came, only that soft crying again. She followed the sound, pushing aside branches as she moved deeper into the forest. A faint glow appeared between the trees ahead. Her heart started racing again. As she moved closer, the glow became brighter, lighting up the ground in a soft blue color. Then she saw it, a small object, half buried in the earth. Still glowing gently, as if it was alive. The ground around it was burned, and the air felt warm near it. Sarah stepped closer, her eyes wide with shock and fear. The object looked like something not made by humans. Smooth, strange, and almost breathing with light. The soft crying was coming from inside it. Her hands trembled as she reached forward. For a moment, she stopped. Something inside her warned her to run away, but the cry grew louder, and it sounded helpless. Slowly, she touched the surface. The light flickered. Then suddenly, the object opened with a soft sound. Like it was responding to her touch. Sarah gasped softly and stepped back. Inside, there was something small, a child but not human. Its skin had a faint glow, its eyes closed. Its body small and fragile. The child moved slightly and let out another soft cry. Sarah stared at it, her mind unable to understand what she was seeing. "This is not real," she whispered, but the child was real. Very real. Slowly, without thinking, she leaned forward again. The child opened its eyes. They were not like human eyes. They shined softly in the dark, and for a moment, everything around them felt still. The wind stopped. The trees became silent. Even Sarah's breath felt frozen. The child looked directly at her. Not with fear, but with something else, something deep and knowing. Then, In a soft, weak voice, the child spoke. "Mother." Sarah's heart stopped for a second. Her eyes widened in shock. She had never seen this child before. She did not know what it was. She did not understand anything. But the way it said that word felt real. Too real. A strange warmth filled her chest. Confusion, fear, and something else she could not explain. Sarah slowly reached out and lifted the child into her arms. It was warm, light, and strangely calm now. The glow around it faded slightly as it rested against her. Sarah looked down at the child, her hands still shaking. "What are you?" she whispered softly. The child did not answer. It simply closed its eyes again, as if it trusted her completely. Far above them, hidden behind the dark sky, something moved silently, watching, waiting, and searching, and Sarah had no idea that this night would change her life forever. Here is part 2, the secret she hid in third person. Simple English, around 700 words, and written with commas instead of full stops for voiceover. The night felt longer than ever, and the cold wind followed Sarah as she walked back toward her house, holding the small glowing child close to her chest. Her hands were still shaking, but she did not let go. The child was quiet now, resting against her, as if it had already decided that she was safe. Sarah looked around again and again, making sure no one was watching her. The village was still silent, the same as before. But now everything felt different. Every shadow looked deeper, every sound felt louder. She reached her house quickly and pushed the door open, then stepped inside and closed it behind her with care. For a moment, she stood there, breathing heavily, trying to understand what she had just done. Then she slowly looked down at the child in her arms. It moved slightly, its soft glow lighting up her face. Sarah walked to the small bed in the corner of the room and gently placed the child on it. The room felt warmer now, even without a fire. She stepped back, her eyes fixed on the strange child. "This is not possible," she whispered again, but her voice was weak. The child opened its eyes slowly and looked around the room. It did not cry this time. It only watched carefully, quietly. Like it was learning everything, Sarah noticed something strange. The child's eyes moved with understanding, not confusion, as if it already knew how things worked. She took a small step closer. "Can you understand me?" she asked softly. The child turned its head toward her. For a second, it said nothing, then it made a soft sound. Not words, but something close. Sarah felt a chill run through her body. This was not a normal child. Hours passed slowly, and Sarah did not sleep. She sat near the bed, watching the child. Sometimes it closed its eyes, but it never stayed asleep for long. Each time it woke up, its eyes seemed sharper, more aware, as if it was changing, learning, becoming something more. Near midnight, something strange happened. The lights in the house flickered suddenly. Sarah looked up in shock. The room became dim, then bright again, then dim once more. "What is happening?" she whispered. She looked at the child. It was awake, its eyes glowing softly, and the light around its body became stronger. Then slowly, the flickering stopped. The room became normal again, but Sarah's heart was racing now. "Was that you?" she asked quietly. The child simply looked at her, no answer, but deep inside, she already knew. Morning came slowly, and the soft light of the sun entered the room. Sarah had not slept at all. She heard voices outside, villagers starting their day. Fear returned to her heart. She could not let anyone see the child. She quickly closed the curtains and looked around the house. She needed to hide it, but where? Her eyes moved quickly until she found a small storage room behind the kitchen. It was dark, quiet, and rarely used. She picked up the child again. "Stay quiet," she whispered, even though she was not sure it understood. The child did not resist. It simply rested in her arms. She placed it carefully inside the small room and covered the entrance with an old cloth. "You will stay here for now," she said softly. For a moment she hesitated, then she added in a gentle voice, "I will protect you." The child blinked slowly, as if it understood those words more than anything else. Outside, the village was slowly becoming active. People walked by, talking, laughing, unaware of what had happened during the night. But something else had changed far away, beyond the hills. Black vehicles moved quietly along the road. No sound of sirens, no warning. Just silent movement inside one of the vehicles. A man looked at a glowing screen. "There was an impact here," he said calmly. "We are close." Back in the village, Sarah tried to act normal. But her mind was not at peace. Every knock, every sound made her nervous. She kept thinking about the child, about its eyes, about the word it had spoken. "Mother." She touched her chest softly. Why did it say that? How could it know? As the day moved forward, clouds slowly gathered in the sky. The light became dim again, and somewhere far above, hidden beyond what humans could see, a faint signal moved through space. Searching, calling, waiting for a response. And inside Sarah's small house, hidden in darkness, the child opened its glowing eyes again. This time, it did not look confused. It looked aware, and for the first time, it was not just hiding, it was waiting. *. The day moved slowly, but inside the small house, time felt different, heavier, like something unseen was growing in silence. Sarah tried to continue her normal routine, but her thoughts stayed on the hidden room behind the kitchen. Every few minutes she looked toward it, her heart beating a little faster each time. She could not forget the child's glowing eyes, or the way it had spoken that single word, "Mother." It did not sound like a mistake. It felt like truth. After making sure no one was near her house, Sarah quietly walked to the back room and moved the cloth aside. The small space was still dark, but a soft blue glow filled it gently. The child was awake, sitting now. Not lying down like before. Sarah froze for a moment. Yesterday, it could barely move. Now it was sitting up, steady and calm. "How?" she whispered under her breath. The child turned its head slowly and looked at her. Its eyes were brighter than before. Not just glowing, but alive with awareness. Sarah stepped closer, careful, unsure. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. The child watched her for a second, then made a small sound, not crying, not random. It sounded like it was trying to form words. Sarah's breath became slow and careful. "You are learning," she said quietly. The child tilted its head slightly, as if understanding her tone more than her words. Then something strange happened. A small metal cup lying near the wall suddenly moved. Just a little at first, then it slid across the floor. Sarah jumped back in shock, her hand covering her mouth. The child did not touch it, it simply looked at it. And the cup moved again, this time faster. Stopping near Sarah's feet, the room became very quiet. Sarah slowly looked back at the child. "You did that," she whispered, fear and wonder mixing in her voice. The child blinked once. Calm and still, no fear, no surprise. As if this was normal for it, Sarah's mind raced with questions. What kind of child was this? What kind of power did it have? Before she could say anything else, the child suddenly looked toward the door. Its body became tense, its glow became stronger. Sarah noticed it immediately. "What is it?" she asked quickly. The child did not answer, but its eyes were fixed on something far away, something Sarah could not see outside. A dog started barking loudly, then another, then silence again. The kind of silence that feels wrong. Sarah felt a cold wave move through her body. "Someone is here," she whispered. She moved quickly, covering the room again and stepping away. Her heart was now beating fast. She walked to the front window and looked outside carefully. At first, everything looked normal. But then she saw them, two men, standing near the end of the street, dressed in dark clothes. Not from the village, they were not talking. Not moving much, just watching. Sarah stepped back slowly, her breathing becoming uneven. "They are here," she whispered to herself. Behind her, inside the hidden room, the child stood up fully for the first time. Its small body now steady, strong. Its glow filled the space, and its eyes closed for a second, as if it was feeling something beyond the walls, back outside. The two men spoke quietly into small devices. "Energy levels confirmed," one of them said. "It is here, inside the house." Sarah placed her hand on her chest. Trying to calm herself, she had to think. She had to act normal, but how long could she hide this? How long before they came to her door? She slowly turned back toward the hidden room. Her fear was still there, but something else had grown stronger. A feeling she could not ignore. She walked back and removed the cloth again. The child was standing now, looking at her, not like before, this time. Its eyes felt different, deeper, connected. "You know they are here," Sarah said softly. The child nodded slightly, a small movement, but clear. Sarah felt her breath stop for a second. "You understand me," she whispered. The child took one small step forward, then another, slow, careful steps until it was close to her. It lifted its small hand and placed it gently on her arm. Warm, calm, and then, in a soft but clearer voice than before, it spoke again, "Mother." "Danger." Sarah's eyes filled with shock, not just because it spoke, but because it warned her. It was not just learning. It was protecting outside. The wind began to rise again, carrying dust through the empty street. The two men started walking slowly toward her house. Step by step, silent, focused inside. Sarah looked at the child, her fear turning into something stronger, something fierce, something human. "I will not let them take you," she said softly. The child looked at her, and for the first time, it did not look like something lost. It looked like something powerful, something that did not belong to this world, and something that was no longer alone. They found the wind outside grew stronger, pushing dust through the narrow street, and the quiet village slowly turned into a place filled with tension. Sarah stood in the middle of her small house, her eyes fixed on the door, her heart beating louder with every second. The child stood close to her, silent but alert, its soft glow now brighter than before. It was no longer just a scared being hiding in the dark. It was aware, it was ready, outside. The two men moved closer, their steps slow and controlled. Their eyes locked on Sarah's house. They did not look like normal visitors. There was no confusion in their faces, only purpose. One of them lifted his hand slightly, speaking quietly into a device hidden near his collar. "Target confirmed, inside structure," he said in a low voice. "Proceeding." The other man nodded once. Then they reached the door. Inside, Sarah took a deep breath. Trying to stay calm, her mind was racing, but her body stood firm. She looked down at the child. "You must stay quiet," she whispered softly. The child did not move. Its glowing eyes looked up at her, calm and steady. Then suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the house. Sarah's body stiffened. The sound felt heavy, like it carried more than just a request to open the door. Another knock followed, stronger this time. "Sarah Khan," a voice called from outside, firm and cold. "We know you are inside." Sarah's eyes widened slightly. They knew her name. Fear moved through her chest, but she did not step back. The child's glow flickered for a moment, then became stable again. "Open the door," the voice said again. "This is important." Sarah slowly walked toward the door, each step careful. Her hand moved toward the handle, then stopped. She closed her eyes for a second, taking a deep breath. Then she opened the door. The two men stood there, tall, still, their faces serious, up close. They looked even more strange, too calm, too perfect. "Good morning," one of them said, his voice controlled. "We need to ask you a few questions." Sarah forced herself to stay calm. "What is this about?" she asked, her voice steady but quiet. The man looked at her for a moment, then slightly leaned forward. "There was an unusual event last night," he said. "A fall from the sky." Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. But her face did not change. "I do not know anything about that," she replied. The second man stepped slightly to the side, his eyes moving past her, trying to look inside the house. "We believe something came down near this area," he said. "And we believe you may have seen something." Sarah stood still. "Blocking the entrance just enough. I did not see anything," she said. The air between them grew tense. For a moment, no one spoke then. From inside the house, a faint sound echoed. Very soft, but enough. The first man's eyes changed slightly. "May we come in?" he asked. This time, it did not sound like a question. Sarah's hand tightened slightly near the door. "No," she said, a short, simple answer. The two men looked at each other for a brief second. Then, without warning, the second man pushed the door slightly, not hard, but enough to show they would not wait for permission. Sarah stepped back quickly. "You cannot just come inside," she said, her voice rising, but they were already moving. Slow steps controlled, their eyes scanning everything. Inside the house, the air felt heavier, like something invisible was pressing down on the room. The child stood hidden behind the cloth, but its glow was starting to leak through. The first man noticed it, his eyes locked on the faint blue light. "There," he said quietly. In that moment, everything changed. Sarah moved quickly, stepping in front of the hidden room. "There is nothing there," she said firmly, but the men did not stop. They moved closer, step by step, their focus sharp. The child inside took a small step back. Its breathing became faster, its glow stronger. The lights in the house flickered again. Once, twice, then stronger. Sarah felt it behind her. The energy, the fear, the power. "Stop," she said loudly, raising her hand. The men paused for a second, surprised by her sudden strength. "You need to leave," she said. "This is my house." The first man's expression hardened. "What is inside that room does not belong to you," he said. "It does not belong to this world." Sarah's eyes filled with something new. Not fear, not confusion, but defiance. "It is not yours either," she replied. For a moment, silence filled the space. Then the cloth behind her moved slightly. A soft blue light spilled into the room. And slowly, the child stepped out. The air changed instantly. The temperature dropped. The lights went dim. The two men froze where they stood. The child looked at them, its glowing eyes calm but powerful. Then it spoke, its voice clearer than ever before. "They are not here to help." Sarah felt her breath catch. The men slowly reached for something at their sides. Devices, weapons, but before they could act, the room trembled slightly. The child's glow expanded, filling every corner, and for the first time, it did not look small, it did not look weak. It looked like something far beyond human. And Sarah realized in that moment, this was no longer just about hiding. The air inside the house felt heavy, as if it was filled with something unseen, something powerful and alive. The soft blue light from the child spread across the walls, turning the small room into something strange and unreal. Sarah stood frozen, her eyes moving between the child and the two men. Her heart beating fast but steady. The men did not move now. For the first time, they looked unsure. The child stood in front of Sarah, small in size, but no longer weak. Its glowing eyes were fixed on the men, calm but filled with something deeper, something ancient. "Step back," one of the men said quietly, raising his hand slowly, but his voice was not as strong as before. The child did not move. Instead, the light around it pulsed once, soft but strong. The man's hand stopped in the air, as if something invisible was holding it in place. Sarah gasped softly. She could see it now. The power, not loud, not wild, but controlled. Like it knew exactly what it was doing. The second man spoke quickly into his device. "Subject confirmed, high energy, not stable," he said. "We need immediate extraction." The child's eyes shifted slightly toward him. And suddenly, the device in his hand stopped working. The sound cut off. Silence returned. The man looked at it in shock. "It is blocking the signal," he said. Sarah slowly stepped closer to the child, her fear slowly turning into something else. "Trust. Who are you?" she whispered. The child turned toward her, its glow softened for a moment. And then slowly, it spoke, not just one word this time, but more, broken, simple, but clear. From far." "Not Earth." Sarah's breath became slow. She listened carefully. "My home." "Gone," the child continued softly. "Fire." Light, end. Images flashed in Sarah's mind. Not seeing with her eyes, but felt deep inside her thoughts. A world burning, a sky breaking apart, voices fading into silence. She stepped back slightly, her hand on her head. "What is this?" she whispered. The child lowered its gaze for a moment, then looked at her again. "Scent." "Away," it said. "To live." The room became quiet again. Even the two men stopped moving. Listening, trying to understand, Sarah felt tears form in her eyes. "You are alone," she said softly. The child looked at her, then slowly shook its head. "No." "Not alone," it said. "Mother," that word again. Stronger now, clearer, not a mistake. Not confusion, but choice. Sarah felt something break inside her. A wall she did not know was there. She looked at the child, really looked this time. Not as something strange, not as something dangerous, but as something lost, something that needed her. "I am here," she said quietly. "I will not leave you." The child's glow became softer again. Warmer, behind them, the first man lowered his hand slowly. "This changes nothing," he said, trying to regain control. "That being is not safe. It is not human." Sarah turned quickly, her eyes sharp. "Neither are you," she said. The man paused. She took a step forward. "You came into my house. You lied. You tried to take it. It is a child," she continued. "It is scared." The second man stepped forward slightly. "It is powerful," he said. "And power like this is dangerous." Sarah shook her head. "No," she said firmly. "People like you are dangerous." The tension in the room grew again. The child stepped slightly in front of her. Protecting her now, the roles were changing. "You fear what you not know," the child said slowly. The words were not perfect, but the meaning was clear. Outside, more vehicles arrived silently. Dark shapes moving through the street, more people, more danger. The first man looked toward the door, then back at the child. "This is bigger than you understand," he said. "You cannot hide it forever." Sarah's voice became quiet, but strong. "I do not need forever," she said. "I just need time." The child looked up at her, then toward the door, its eyes glowing brighter again. "They coming," it said. Sarah felt the fear return, but this time it did not control her. She placed her hand gently on the child's shoulder. "We will face it together," she said. The child nodded once. A small movement, but full of meaning. The lights flickered again. Stronger this time, the air trembled slightly. Outside, footsteps moved closer. Many of them inside the house. Something had changed. This was no longer about hiding, no longer about running. This was about protecting something that had lost everything. Something that had crossed the stars just to survive. And now, it had found a reason to stay. But the world outside was closing in. And the next moment would decide everything. The sound of footsteps outside grew louder. Slow but steady, like a storm that could not be stopped. Shadows moved past the windows, dark figures surrounding the house from every side. Sarah stood still in the center of the room, her hand gently resting on the child's shoulder. Her eyes filled with fear, but also determination. The child stood quietly beside her, its glow growing stronger with each passing second, as if it could feel everything outside. "They are here," Sarah whispered, her voice low but steady. The child did not look afraid now. Its eyes were focused, watching the door, listening to every movement beyond the walls, inside the house. The two men stepped back slowly, giving space, as if they knew something bigger was about to happen. "Do not resist," one of them said quickly. "It will only make this worse." Sarah did not answer. Her attention stayed on the child, then without warning, the door burst open with a heavy force. Wood cracked, dust filled the air, and several armed soldiers rushed inside. Their movements were fast, trained and precise, weapons raised, eyes locked on the glowing child. "Target secured," one of them shouted. "No sudden moves," another voice followed. The house, once small and quiet, was now filled with tension and danger. Sarah stepped forward immediately, placing herself between the soldiers and the child. "Stop," she said loudly. Her voice echoed in the room. "He is just a child." But the soldiers did not lower their weapons. To them, this was not a child. This was a mission. The leader stepped forward, his face hidden behind dark glass. "Move aside," he ordered. Sarah shook her head. "No," she said firmly. "You will not take him." Behind her, the child slowly lifted its head. Its glow began to change. Not just brighter, but deeper, stronger. The air in the room became heavy, like it was pressing down on everyone. The lights flickered wildly, shadows jumping across the walls. "Energy levels rising," one soldier said nervously. "Sir, we need to act now." The leader raised his hand slightly. "Hold position," he said, but it was already too late. The child took a small step forward, and then everything changed. The ground trembled slightly, a low hum filled the air, and a wave of energy spread through the room. The soldiers froze, not by choice, but by force. Their bodies locked in place, their weapons held still in midair. Even the dust in the air stopped moving. Time itself felt like it had slowed down. Sarah looked around in shock, her breath caught in her throat. "What is happening?" she whispered. The child stood at the center of it all, its eyes glowing brighter than ever before. This was its true power. Not hidden anymore, not controlled by fear. The two men from before struggled to move, their faces tense. "It is controlling everything," one of them said with difficulty. The child slowly raised its hand, a small movement, but powerful. The soldiers were lifted slightly off the ground, held by something invisible. Sarah's heart raced as she watched. This was no longer just protection. This was something dangerous, something unstoppable. The child turned its head slowly toward the soldiers, its eyes cold now, focused for a moment. It looked like it was ready to destroy everything, to end the threat completely, and maybe more. "Stop," Sarah said suddenly, her voice breaking through the silence. The child froze for a second. Its glowing eyes turned toward her. Sarah stepped closer, even though the air felt heavy around her. "You are not a weapon," she said softly, her voice calm, but strong. "You are not like them." The child stared at her, its power still holding everything in place. "They hurt. They take," it said slowly. "Yes," Sarah replied gently. "But that does not mean you become like them." The room stayed frozen, every second stretching longer. "You have a choice," she continued. "You can destroy, or you can be better." The child's glow flickered slightly. Its expression changed, not anger, not fear. Something else, something human. Sarah took one more step forward and placed her hand slowly against its arm. Warm light touched her skin. "You are not alone," she said quietly. "I am here." For a long moment, nothing moved. Then slowly, very slowly, the child lowered its hand. The pressure in the room began to fade. The soldiers dropped back to the ground gasping, their control returning. The lights stopped flickering. The air became normal again. The power was gone. The child stepped back. Its glow soft again, not dangerous now, just a child. The soldiers looked confused, shaken. They had seen something they could not understand. Something they could not control. The leader lowered his weapon slowly. "This is not over," he said quietly, but his voice no longer held the same confidence. Sarah stood beside the child, her hand still resting on its shoulder. "I know," she said. The child looked up at her. Its eyes calm again, but deeper than before. It had made a choice, not to destroy, but to stay, and outside, above the dark sky. Something had been watching, something that had just received the signal. The house was quiet again. But it was not the same kind of quiet as before. This silence felt deeper. Like something powerful had passed through and left its mark. Sarah stood near the broken door, her eyes moving slowly across the room. Her heart still beating fast from everything that had just happened. The soldiers were gone now, stepping back into the shadows outside. Their mission no longer clear, their confidence shaken. Even the two strange men had left without another word. Their cold control replaced by something closer to fear. Inside the house, only Sarah and the child remained. The small space felt different now, like it was holding a secret too big for its walls. Sarah turned slowly and looked at the child. It stood quietly in the center of the room. Its glow soft and steady, no longer wild, no longer dangerous. "Just calm, just present. You are safe now," Sarah said softly. Though she was not fully sure if that was true. The child looked at her, its eyes warm, filled with something gentle. "Safe." "With you," it replied slowly. The words were clearer now, stronger. As if it had learned so much in such a short time. Sarah felt a small smile touch her lips, even in the middle of everything. She stepped closer and knelt in front of it. "You do not have to be afraid anymore," she said. The child tilted its head slightly, as if thinking about her words. Then it looked toward the sky, even though the roof blocked the view. Its expression changed, not fear, not confusion, but something like knowing. "They heard," it said quietly. Sarah frowned slightly. "Who heard?" she asked. The child raised its small hand slowly, pointing upward. "Others. Like me," it said. "They search." "Long time." Sarah's chest tightened. "They are coming," she whispered. The child looked back at her, then slowly shook its head. "No." "They stop now." Sarah did not understand. "Why would they stop?" she asked. The child stepped closer to her, its glow becoming just a little brighter. "Because I choose," it said. Sarah's breath slowed. "Choose what?" she asked softly. The child looked directly into her eyes. "Stay," it said. The word was simple, but it carried everything. Sarah felt her eyes fill with tears again. "You want to stay here?" she asked. "With me," the child nodded slowly. "Yes." "Mother," that word again, but now it felt complete. Not broken, not uncertain, real. Sarah reached out and gently held the child, pulling it into her arms. For the first time, she did not hesitate. She did not question, she only felt. Warmth filled the room, soft and peaceful, outside. The sky slowly cleared, the clouds moving away as if something had changed far beyond the earth. High above, in the silent darkness of space, a faint signal moved once more, but this time it was different. It was not a call for help, it was not a cry of fear. It was a message, a choice. A signal that said everything had changed, and slowly, one by one. Distant watchers turned away, the search ended. The waiting stopped, back on Earth. Sarah sat on the floor, holding the child close. The broken door, the disturbed room, none of it mattered now. "What will happen now?" she whispered softly. The child rested its head against her shoulder. "Live," it said simply. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, letting those words settle inside her. Live, such a simple thing, but after everything. It felt like the most powerful choice of all. Days passed, and the village returned to normal slowly. People spoke about strange lights and unknown visitors. But no one knew the truth. No one knew what had almost happened. And no one knew what had been saved. Inside the small house at the edge of the village, life began to change quietly. The child learned more each day, speaking better, understanding deeper, but always staying close to Sarah, always calling her the same word, mother, and Sarah never corrected it. She never questioned it again. Because in her heart, she already knew. This child was not from her world, not from her people, not from her past. But it was now part of her life, part of her future, and maybe part of something much bigger than both of them. One evening, as the sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon, painting the sky in soft orange and red, Sarah stood outside her house. The child beside her, they both looked up at the sky. Silent, peaceful, no fear, no searching lights, only stars. The child reached for her hand. Sarah held it gently, and together they stood there, looking at the endless sky. A world above them, a world beyond them, but no longer a threat. Because something had changed forever. A child from the stars had found a home. And a human heart had chosen to protect it, not because she understood it, but because she cared, because she loved. And in that quiet moment, under the open sky, one simple truth remained. He was not from this planet. But he called her mother,